Good morning ladies and gentlemen, my name is Napoleon Total, and today I am back with another enlisted squad review. This time we are doing the new paratrooper squad that we were given during the reinforcements received event. In today's case, we are doing the 2nd Parachute Battalion of the 1st Parachute Brigade. Like with every squad review, I'll be doing the history of the units, the weapon history and development, and a review on the unit income. That said, this video has been made possible through the friends at Discord, meaning if you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, I highly suggest that you do. But that said, let's get started with today's video. Impressed by the success of German airborne operations during the Battle of France, Winston Churchill directed the War Office to investigate the possibility of creating a corps of 5,000 parachute troops. On the 22nd of June 1940, No. 2 Commando was redeployed to parachute duties, and on the 21st of November, it was redesignated the 11th Special Air Service Battalion, later the 1st Parachute Battalion, with both a parachute and glider wing. All parachute forces had to undergo a 12-day parachute training course at No. 1 Parachute Training School at RAF Ringway. Initial parachute jumps were from a converted barrage balloon and finished with 5 jumps from an aircraft. Anyone failing to complete a descent was returned to his old unit. Those men who successfully completed the parachute course were presented with their maroon beret and parachute wings. Airborne soldiers were expected to fight against superior numbers of the enemy, armed with heavy weapons, including artillery and tanks. The training was as a result designed to encourage a spirit of self-discipline, self-reliance, and aggressiveness. Emphasis was given to physical fitness, marksmanship, and fieldcraft. A large part of the training regime consisted of assault courses and route marching, while military exercises included capturing and holding airborne bridgeheads, rotor rail bridges, and coastal fortifications. The brigade first saw action in Operation Biting, a raid on a German radar site at Bruneval on the French coast. They were then deployed in the Torch landings in Algeria and the following Tunisia campaign, where it fought as an independent unit. In North Africa, each of the brigade's 3 parachute battalions took part in separate parachute assaults. Following the Axis surrender in North Africa, when the 1st Airborne Division arrived in Tunisia, the brigade once more came under its command. The brigade's next mission was Operation Fustian, part of the Allied invasion of Sicily. This was also the British Army's first brigade-sized combat parachute jump. Because of casualties sustained in Sicily, the brigade was held in reserve for the division's next action. At the end of 1943, the brigade returned to England in preparation for the invasion of Northwest Europe. Not required during the Normandy landings, the brigade was next in action at the Battle of Arnhem, part of Operation Market Garden. Landing on the first day of the battle, the brigade's objective was to seize the crossings over the River Rhine and hold them for 48 hours, until relieved by the advancing 30th Corps, coming 60 miles, 97 kilometers from the south. In the face of strong resistance elements, the brigade managed to secure the north end of the Arnhem Road Bridge. After holding out for 4 days, with their casualties growing and supplies exhausted, they were forced to surrender. By this time, the remainder of the brigade trying to fight through to the bridge had been almost destroyed and was no longer a viable fighting force. Reformed after the battle, the brigade took part in operations in Denmark at the end of the war, and then in 1946, joined the 6th Airborne Division on internal security duties in Palestine. Post-war downsizing of the British Army reduced their airborne forces to a single brigade and led to the 1948 dissolution of the 1st Parachute Brigade. That said, move on to the weapon itself. The BSA Wellgun, when issuing arms to resistance fighters throughout Europe, so favored short-range, rapid-fire, cost-effective weapons which required little training to use or maintenance in the field. Initially, they favored the British Army issue crude and cheap Sten submachine gun, but this weapon perhaps went too far in the direction of cheapness and simplicity. The SO then sought a weapon more suited to the organization's needs in early 1942. They had already produced the prototype Norm gun, but this was too expensive for large-scale manufacture. Hence they moved on to the Wellgun, which was less reliable in poor operating conditions, such as mud or dust, because the first models had been made with too close tolerances. It was, however, more accurate and easier to use. Later pre-production models had more generous tolerances and were as reliable as the Sten, under conditions of deliberate abuse. Various Allied commando and army organizations were enthusiastic about the weapon. In the event, the Sten Mk. IV was chosen for mass production over the Wellgun. though it did not enter widespread service either. No official reason for the Wellgun's rejection has survived. The weapon was a fairly conventional blowback design. It used the same 9mm parabellum cartridge as the Sten. Since this round was also used by the Axis, resistance fighters could obtain ammunition from enemy sources. The Wellgun used the same 32-round single-feed magazine as the Sten, a potential source of trouble as this design was unreliable in service. The magazine fed vertically, rather than sideways as in the Sten. The Wellgun had a folding stock. When this was folded to lie over the barrel and body of the gun, the overall length of the weapon was a little over 16 inches, allowing easy carriage and concealment. The Wellgun also had a wooden pistol grip and vestigial wooden foregrip, which contributed to its accuracy and balance. That said, let us move on to the stats and perks of the Wellgun. For one, the hit power of the gun is 6.8, which is decent, and it comes with 32 rounds, like the Sten. Unlike the Sten, this thing has 37 vertical recoil and 9 horizontal recoil, meaning this thing is very accurate. Finally, let's move on to the verdict and whether or not you should use this squad in combat. In my experience, the squad's weapons are decent for the early game. I would say that the gun is a better version of the Lanchester and the Sten. However, I wouldn't suggest bringing this weapon into the late game, since the various Thompsons perform much better. However, one big benefit that you get when using the squads is that you get various weapons with the parachute drop. My favorite so far is the Lee Enfield sniper rifle, since it's one of the best sniper rifles in the game. Overall, unlike the Italian squads that we got earlier, this squad is a supporting paratrooper squad. I really don't have the means to storm into buildings as efficiently as the Italian squad, although as compared to the Italian squad, this squad has a better SMG. But this squad excels at the support, especially with the Lee Enfield sniper rifle, which is amazing. Overall, I would say this is a great squad, especially if you like sniping, using a no-recoil SMG, and overall having a laid-back experience. That said, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.